And now, for the week of March 6th, Adobe Photoshop TV is on the air.
Welcome to Adobe Photoshop TV from the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And here's your hosts, the Photoshop guys, Scott Kelby, Dave Cross, and Matt Plaskowski.
Welcome everyone to another ballistic episode of Adobe Photoshop TV, coming to you live as always from the headquarters of the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, where among other things we produce Photoshop User Magazine.
Yes, and this week's episode is brought to you by CDW, by all of your computer needs at CDW.com.
All your needs. If you have needs, take them there. Also, Wacom, the makers, of course, of the first widescreen tablet. You can check it out at Wacom.com.
Also by Peach Pit Press, go to peachpit.com to check out all the books and some special Photoshop TV deals too.
Right, and also the Epson Print Academy. Check it out, EpsonPrintAcademy.com. Now, you may have noticed, well, I'm assuming you have, there's only two of us here today, and that's because Scott Kelby is at PMA, which is the Photo Marketers Association. It's in Orlando, and he's actually going to be doing a live, kind of semi-live remote broadcast right from the Adobe booth at that trade show. So he will be joining us later, and as we always do, we have a prize to give away a little bit later, right?
We have a Photoshop World ticket again, and another prize that we'll take a look at in a few minutes.
Excellent. And we also have a little special guest coming in that will actually, we're going to say he's coming in, but he was already here. So when Matt's shirt changes, you'll understand why.
I think they'll figure it out.
Jack Resnicki was here a little while ago, so he did a great tutorial for us, so we'll be showing you that later. But first, to start things off, Matt, you have something for us, do you not?
I do have something.
Excellent.
This week, what I'm going to take a look at here is how to create an antique photo effect. And I'm taking it out of an earlier issue of Photoshop User Magazine. It's from the Classic Effects column, done by Dave Cross.
Awesome.
So we're going to take a look at how to create that kind of antique old effect on an image.
Great.
So
let's take a look.
Let's take a look. I just said that, Dave. Okay, step one, you want to open up Step one, you want to open up a photo. Now, as you can see here, I've got a photo open, and it happens to be an iStock photo from iStockPhoto.com. So let's open up a photo. And the first thing that you want to do is find your layers palette beneath all these palettes I have open. And we want to create a new layer. And this time, instead of just using the new layer icon at the bottom, we'll just choose Layer, New Layer. And this shows me the new layer dialog. And in here, I'm just going to type in noise. Then under mode, I'm going to choose overlay. And then there's one little setting at the bottom here. It's called fill with overlay neutral color. So it's 50% gray. So I'm going to check off that setting and click OK. So now I get a layer that's just filled with gray. I'm going to go under filter, noise. If you recall, we named this layer noise, so I'm going to add noise to it.
That's so clever of you,
isn't it?
To name it that way.
Because I'll forget any other way if I don't. So come in here, and I'm just going to use kind of a low setting, maybe around somewhere at 6 or 7, 8%, and choose Gaussian and monochromatic. Click OK. So now you get some noise into your image here. Now, after you do that, you want to create another new layer, and we're going to name this one grain. So just create a new blank layer. Double click on it, and let's name that grain. And what we're going to do is fill it with white. So I just press the D key, and then you can press Alt or Option and the backspace key, and that fills it with black. So if you press Control or Command and the backspace key, that'll fill it with white.
I like the way you added an extra shortcut just to teach
you know,
people
I wanted to show them more. In case they wanted to fill it with black. All right. So after that, we're going to go to the filter menu once again. We'll go down to Texture, and I'm going to choose Grain here. Now this opens up the large filter gallery dialog box. You can't see all the settings here, but what I'm going to show you is all you need to worry about is this intensity setting and the grain type. So let's go over to grain type first. Just move that out a little bit. And I'm going to choose, instead of regular, I'm going to choose vertical. And then I'm going to take the intensity, I'm going to knock that way up. And take a look over here in the preview area. You don't need to see it all. You can see what it's doing. It's adding that black area. So just bump that intensity up for basically visually how intense and how old do you want this photo to look. And then when you're done, just click OK. Now, after that's done, go over here and change your layer blend mode. Change it from normal and switch it to multiply. And then you can drop the opacity down a little bit if you kind of want to just lessen the effect a little bit. And you can start to see we're almost getting a little bit of a grain effect in the photo here. Now, after you do that, we're going to create another new layer, and we're going to put it right between these two layers. So I'm going to show you another little shortcut here. Hold down the Control or the Command key and click on the new layer icon. See that it added that new layer right below the layer I had selected here. So it's right in between those two. And again, we're going to fill it with white, not black this time. So you can always press the D key. You can also press X. That makes white the foreground color. And then Alter Option and Backspace. And we'll go and we'll do another filter on this called Filter, Render, Difference Clouds. And there's no settings in there, just run that filter. And then we're going to go under the filter menu once again, down to Pixel 8 and Crystallize. Now in here, this is another one of those personal settings. This is where you're going to kind of add that crackled effect to your photo here. So it's really, it's as much as you want that effect to be. So if you use a large setting, this cell size here, see what it does? See how it makes large cells in there? I tend to stick with that smaller size here, somewhere around 25, somewhere between 25 and 30 here, and it gives me that nice little crackled effect. So just click OK. Doesn't look like much, but once we go in, go to Filter, Stylize, and Find Edges, look at that. See how it gets rid of all that black and that gray, and it makes it all white. And then once again, we'll change the layer blend mode to Multiply. Drop the opacity down. Now we're just about done. We've kind of made the filter look old and crackled, and it has a nice texture to it. The last thing we need to do is just give it a different color. So I'm going to just click on the top layer, go down to my adjustment layers here, and add a hue saturation adjustment layer. Click on the colorize box, and then just adjust this hue to whatever color you want to give it. Usually somewhere over on the left-hand side gives you that old antique look for the photo. So the nice part about doing it on all those different layers is that you can always just select those layers and then press Control or Command G to put them into a group, and you can always just move that into another photo so you have the same effect.
Good point, because it doesn't rely on the photo, it's just
not at all
overlaid on top. And
yep.
Plus, you're not affecting the original photo that way. Awesome.
We love doing that.
We love doing that. Non-destructive work.
Yeah.
Very nice. Now, before we continue, I just do want to make one mention of one thing. The last episode, for those of you that watched it, we did film it in the CBS studios, and a number of people commented about the fact that I was wearing long pants and no Canada shirt, and I just felt the need to explain, because I know I probably confused some people with that, but we just come off the set filming something where I wasn't allowed to wear long pants or a Canada shirt. So now we're back to the normal, everyday Photoshop TV look. So sorry if I freaked you out a little bit, but that was just the
I saw many posts about that on the website.
And one
they were
last thing.
upset.
If you do want to make a comment about Dave wearing pants, probably if you could just put the word long in there, because just saying, hey, Dave's wearing pants just seems a little weird to me to not put long pants. But anyway, at this point, we probably going to see if we can't hook up via satellite or some other
we have
great
some
technology.
crazy technology
Scott, are you there? Scott Kelby from PMA. Come in, Scott. Okay, here he is. Here's Scott.
Hi, everybody watching Photoshop TV. Hey, we're on location here at the PMA show in Orlando, and are we having a great time, guys? These are the greatest people in the world, with the exception, of course, of you, my viewers at home. No. Okay. Hey, we're here to do a tip. We're going to do a high-pass sharpening tip. Where I got the idea to show this tip was, we have a blog on Photoshop TV that you guys know about that are watching at home, and every week people put questions on there. One of the questions was, I understand that you can do sharpening using the high-pass filter. I have no idea how or why I would want to do it. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to show you how to do a little high-pass sharpening. So here's how it's done. We're going to open up a photograph. I actually brought two different photographs I can show you. The first one is right here. And the reason why you would want to do high-pass sharpening is when you have an image that can accept a lot of sharpening. For example, if you're doing a picture of like a puppy or a rainbow or something like that, it won't accept a lot of sharpening. Your sharpening will become real apparent. But when you have something like this that's got a lot of really well-defined edges, trucks and cars, cityscapes, things like that, they can accept a tremendous amount of sharpening. So our goal is to try to get away with as much sharpening as we can. So here's what you do. You basically duplicate the layer, go into the filter menu, go down to Other, and choose High Pass. Now here's how the high pass works. It basically trashes your photo. Start all the way over to the left, and then just drag a little bit over like this to the right. As you can see, All right, see how the edges start to come out? Once the edges come out, all you have to do then is switch your blend mode from normal to hard light. And it gives you a tremendous amount of sharpening. Now it's hard to see here how much sharpening we applied until I turn the layer off. Watch this. Here's the before and after. So, oh, you got it right now. Let me show you one more image. Let me show you one more image on it. I got another one. Because it's one of those things where when you've got the right kind of image, something that can really take the heat. Like here's a good example. Here's an architectural shot side of a building. Duplicate the layer, go filter, other, run the high pass. I'm just going to use the same settings as the other one. Then switch the mode from normal to hard light. And again, you can't tell until you turn it off how sharp it really got. Look at the difference before and after. Now, for Photoshop viewers who are watching this on their iPods, which is this big. Now, if you watch this in iTunes, of course, you can watch it full screen. But for those of you who are watching on on your iPods, you just have to trust us. Is it really sharp? All right, now, here's one last tip for you. You see how it's got an opacity? This is the nice thing. So what if you've applied this effect and it's too much? Because it's on its own layer, all you do is go in here and just lower the opacity so you can, basically, this is your sharpening amount now. You decide how much sharpening you want, just take it back to where it looks good to you, and then let go, and there you have it. Well, thanks to you guys very much. Thanks to everybody watching at home on Photoshop TV. Back to you guys in the studio. Hey, thank you guys. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you, Scott. Again, that was Scott recorded almost live at the PMA booth, or Adobe's booth at the PMA show in Orlando, Florida.
Happening as we speak,
actually. Happening as we speak. So, hey, before we get on, I think Dave's got a tutorial, but before we do that, let's take a look at another one of our contest prizes this week. You're supposed to throw it. So, we mentioned this a couple weeks ago. We gave a few of these away already, and this is the Adobe Messenger bag.
Highly sought after now, I'm sure.
And if you're messaging, this is the bag to have. So you get this bag in addition to the Photoshop World ticket. So that's going to be our contest prize this week. We will do that
later.
A little bit later, and there we go. Isn't it nice to have people offset to cast things? All right, so Dave, what do you got for us?
I actually have a little tutorial which introduces tool presets. So one of those things where you can easily customize Photoshop. A lot of people don't even realize it's there. So it's just going to show you how you can take advantage of it to when you want to reuse the same settings and tools all the time. You can make your life easier with tool presets.
Love tool presets.
Just like this. Now, as I said, this is a built-in part of Photoshop, but a lot of people don't use it all the time, and it's really great when you're reusing tools instead of having to remember what setting you use. And it's very simple to use. It's right up here in the top of the options bar. It's always there. This is the Tool Preset Picker. Try saying that 3 times fast. And because I happen to be on the Type tool, these are the presets that I already have. So it couldn't be very much easier to use than this. Now, personally, especially if I'm doing something like Type, I would prefer to just get some text in there so I have something to look at just to make sure I'm doing it the way that I want. So let's go ahead and just change that to some other typeface. We could also change the alignment and the font size and all that kind of stuff. Let's make it a nice round number. And we're going to assume at this point that this is a style of type that I want to use over and over again. So all I do is click once on the Tool Preset Picker, and then pick on this little menu and choose New Tool Preset. Now, Adobe tries to help us by naming it Horizontal Type Tool and all this other stuff. Well, personally, I already know I'm on the Horizontal Type Tool, so having that there really isn't of any use to me. And for some reason, it always puts 1 on the end. Not quite sure why that is either. So I like to put it names that will tell me what it is, something like that. So I click OK. Now you see it's been added to my list. Now, the only kind of trick to this, let me go ahead and just delete that type layer as if I'm starting over again now, is this only works if you choose the tool preset before you use the tool. In other words, you can't type text and then decide to use the tool preset. So let me go ahead and change this to anything just so it's different. See, I have now some different setting in here, and before I start typing, I realize I want to use that preset. I just choose it, changes everything for me, and now I can start typing and I'm all set. So you see, it's very easy to do, and it's saved built in to the to Photoshop. Every time you launch it, it's already there, and this applies to everything. So if I look at the crop tool, there are some presets. Now, some you'll find are already in there. Others you can easily change yourself and add them. Now there's one last thing I would do if you go to all the trouble of making tool presets so you don't end up having to do it all over again, and that would be to go under Edit. You can't see it, but I can just tell you I'm going under Edit to the Preset Manager, which looks like this, and then I can go down to Tools. Here's all my tool presets, and if I had created any custom ones, like the ones I just created here, I would select these, choose Save Set, and then that would give me a backup. So if I ever lost it, had to reset Photoshop or reinstall it, or even move machines, I could just load those back in again. Now remember, you can make tool presets for every kind of tool. So for example, you use the clone stamp tool, and you have certain settings like one in lighten mode and one in darken mode, or different opacities. The sky's the limit, and it's very easy to do, as you saw, and then you just save that little set in the preset manager, and you're all set. At this point,
in that thing, just save it in that thing.
In that thing that's called Preset Manager is the official name for it. And at this point, we're going to throw it, as we say in the industry, over to Matt for some Photoshop news. Take it away, Matt.
Okay, so let's talk about some news this week. First up, I actually got to go over to the PMA show in Orlando, and one of the things that got a lot of buzz was a new product by Logitech, and it's called the New Look, and it's got a hardware and software component. So I'm holding it up, but you can get a closer look here. And if you're looking at the name of it, it's spelled a little bit weird, but it's pronounced New Look. And it essentially consists of two parts. There's a hardware component, which is this device that I was holding up, and then there's a software component, which gives you quick access to your tools and presets and functions, even documents and folders and programs right at your mouse. So you can just give a click on your mouse and it opens up this little tool dial. So go out, check it out at logitech.com/New Look. Also, Adobe has announced the expansion of their online services, and what they're going to be doing is offering photo backup and online proofing and sales services, and it's integrated with More Photos and Iron Mountain. So you can go to Adobe's website to find out some more information on it. And next up, let's talk about Lexar. They introduced some new technology for their memory cards, and it's pretty cool. What it does is it integrates with Adobe Bridge. So it allows you to manage your images directly from the memory card via Adobe Bridge using that open scripting interface that Adobe has. So it's pretty cool. Take a look at it at lexar.com. And finally, there's a lot of people talking about Lightroom. I was over at that PMA show, and Lightroom caught a lot of the buzz as well, and I got to talk to some of the folks from Adobe. So just to give an update, any Windows users out there that are talking about how Lightroom's not available for Windows, well, they didn't give me a date, but they said that I could say on Photoshop TV that it would be summer of 2006. So that's when we would see a beta for the Windows platform. So you can go to Lightroom or the Adobe Labs to check it out. We'll put a link on our website. And also, they've added another link for forums for Windows users. So if you've got requests, feature requests, or just any general feedback, you can go to the Adobe Labs website and submit them. So that's it for the news. We'll be back with our contest and more Adobe Photoshop TV in 60 seconds.
Hi, my name is Mark Poliger, and I'm Product Engineering Director at Adobe Systems, and you're watching Photoshop TV.
Thanks, Matt, for being so newsworthy, I guess you would say, today. Now, in just a moment, we're going to talk about our upcoming contest, but as you saw, that little advertisement just was promoting Photoshop World, and so we have been doing, for the last little while, we just mentioned there are a couple of flights available, as there often are, to get to Miami.
Okay, so there are flights available.
As we just said.
One of these seconds, I'm going to remember which one I'm supposed to talk about. Actually, the one I'm talking about is Newark. So believe it or not, the Photoshop World is only a few weeks away, and you can still get airfare from Newark for Photoshop World dates for $174 on US Air. Now, I grew up in New Jersey. I know how miserable it is up there right now. So you're wanting to come down to Florida, now's the time to do it.
Right, and if you're either in Atlanta or connected to Atlanta, US Air also has a flight for $191 from Atlanta. So if you need to come to Photoshop World, we'd love to have you there. It's not that expensive to get there. So now let's talk about last week's contest. Last week the question was, I gave you a hexadecimal color, which part of the challenge was figuring out what that was. And if you look in this graphic, we're going to show you the color picker. It's right down at the bottom. And the number I gave you was DBB851. Asked you to give the RGB equivalents, which was 219, 184, 81, as shown here. So you have a winner for that?
We do have
contest?
a winner. We have our winners, AJ Vandenberg from Windsor, Ontario.
Awesome.
So
I know him. No, just kidding.
Congratulations to AJ in the fine country of Canada.
Excellent.
For winning this week's
Cool.
Photoshop.
All right,
Adobe
now let's
Photoshop
do
TV
this
prize.
week's question. We have that messenger bag that we showed you earlier and
another photo?
the pass to Photoshop
Yep.
World. And the question, we're going to show you a graphic and say, name this thing. It's actually name this dialog box, but we decided name this thing was kind of catchier. So whatever you think this is, and then you'll have to do a bit of digging around to find it, send your answer to, and they have to do that on the
Yeah, go to the
website,
website
right?
now. Don't email the Photoshop TV at
don't do
Photoshop. No more. Go to the website, and on the right-hand side of the website, and you can look at this graphic that's on screen right now. Just click send in the feedback form, and go in there and just choose contest and send in your contest answer. Do it by March 10th by 12 p.m. Eastern Time.
Right, and good luck. Now, at this point, we're going to show you Jack Resnicki, who's a world-famous photographer and educator who was in our offices a little while ago and took the time nice enough to share a nice tutorial
Yes,
that you were with him at that point, right?
Yes, and if you see me, I'll be in a different shirt in just a few seconds.
All right, let's check it out.
All right, everybody, today, Jack Resnicki, world-renowned photographer, commercial photographer from New York, also the vice president of the Professional Photographers of America, just happened to stop by our office today. Just walked in, so
That's
anyway.
a lie. I was walking down the street, and they yanked me off the street and said, hey,
that's Jack."
you, we want you to do a tutorial. So here I am.
We have everybody doing tutorials here. So anyway, Jack is in our offices today, and we figured why not get him and get him to do a tutorial for us for Photoshop TV. So welcome, Jack.
Thank you very much.
And what do you got for us today?
I got this picture of a girl that I shot with, of course, what's called a wah-wah lens with a whammy filter on it. But now this is another effect that we actually don't have time today that I did with Liquify and Free Transform. But what I want to do is change the color of her outfit. When I'm all done and finished, I just didn't like that dark color on her. I want it a little more colorful. And I want to change that white background. I want that background to pop a little more, to have a little more excitement than just a plain white background. So first thing we're going to do is change her shirt. And we're going to do that by going up to Select, Color Range, one of my favorite features in Photoshop. And we have a lot of it selected now. The little eyedroppers here are important. If you just leave it on the default eyedropper and you click on it, it just picks that one color. But if we want to make a mask and have it continue and pick that whole range, we click the plus eyedropper. And I'll go over here and just run through that blouse, and we'll see it picked up all the color. The fuzziness is how much of that color do I want to select. So if I go way up, it'll pick anything that comes close to that color. Way down, it's a little too selective. So we want to have a little fuzziness. So let's bring it up to about 33% there. I'll click OK. And now we see we have her shirt selected. But there's two areas I need to correct. One is her eyes, because it selected her eyes. And I don't want to change the color of her eyes. I like the color of her eyes. They look real good. So we'll go up to the lasso tool. And if I hit the Option key on the Mac or the Alt key on the PC, I get a little minus sign. So I'll go around that, and that'll deselect that selection. Now down here in her shirt, I have, it's not selected, and what I want to do is add that to the selection. So in that case, I'm going to hit the Shift key, and that'll give me a little plus sign next to the lasso tool. I'll just go scoot right around that, and that'll include that little section in her shirt. Now the fun part. Anytime I have a selection like this, and I go to the adjustment layers, it'll automatically create a mask of that selection. What do you mean? I'm glad you asked.
What do you mean, Jack?
I'm going to go here and go to Hue and Saturation. As soon as I click on it, you'll see here's my hue and saturation. But if you look up here at the layers, you'll see I have a mask, and it's only going to affect what was my marching ant selection. So now I can go into the hue and say, I don't want it blue, I want it, purple looks interesting. Let's bring it over here. Ooh, that's nice. How about green? I like that green, but I want it a little more saturated. And you know what? Maybe let's go a little lighter with it too. Not much. The lightness you can really get carried away with.
That looks good that way.
Right.
Really light.
Whoa, blow your eyes out. That looks real good. So real quickly, we were able to change just the color of her shirt and maintain all that texture. The next thing I want to do is change this white background. I shoot so many things against white. One of the clients I shoot a lot for is Toys R Us, and they love these white backgrounds because it pops out of the pages, or they can add whatever they want. So I have this portfolio with a lot of white pages, and I think a lot of people do. And so I just want to create a really quick background behind it. And what I'm going to do is make a blank layer above this layer. I'll just go down here to the new layer icon, click on it, and I now have layer 1. I'm going to come up here to Edit, Stroke. There we go. And I'm going to stroke, on this one, let's go 75 pixels. I want to change the color to this green here, so let's just click on it. And let's get down into the greens. That looks like a pretty good match. Maybe a little darker for that shirt. Okay, we'll click OK. That's a good green. Now for location, I want to do an inside stroke, except I made one little mistake. So we're going to cancel that out.
That's okay. We like mistakes here.
Oh, my God. Well, I'm in the right place then.
Yes.
What I want to do before I do that is do a select all of this empty layer. So I'll do Command or Control A, and you see I have my marching ants all around the edge. Now I'll go to Edit, Stroke. Now I have something to stroke. Before I didn't have anything to stroke. And instead of doing this, let me go over to the eyedropper and pick this green so I get the exact same green. That looks pretty good. So now I have green in my foreground color. I'll go to Edit, and one more time I'm going to go to Stroke.
Don't worry, Jack, that's nothing compared to...
Oh, I've seen some of these. I've seen some of these. I'm rolling right along.
Yeah, you're doing
great. I'm feeling good. I'm on a roll here. Or a bagel. I'm from New York. So 75 pixels for width. We'll click OK. It's an inside stroke, so it's inside my selection. There's my green. Big deal. Got a green line painted around it. The trick is to go up to Filter, Blur, our famous Gaussian blur. We'll click on that. And it's 1 pixel radius. That's not much of a blur. Let's go all the way over. 250. Let's look at the extreme. We're going to have to wait a little bit for this to catch up since it's your computer. That might be a little too extreme for that. Let's just pull it back just a little bit.
There you go.
And that looks pretty good. We'll click OK and let it process. And I know you're saying, but Jack, you got green over here. I don't want it to go there. Well,
but Jack, you've got green over there. I don't think I want it to go there.
Oh, I'm going to take you around on all my lessons. This is great. Let's create a mask. We'll just click our mask icon down here. We now have our mask. We don't want to paint with white. We want to paint with black on our mask. We'll go to a brush. And 13 is a little small. Let's go about 140. No, even a little more. Let's go to about close to 200. And the hardness is 0. I don't want any hardness on this. I want it as soft as I can. I'll click here to get rid of that. And now that's a little too much. Opacity at 100. Let's make it an opacity of 50. And you know what? I want even a bigger brush. I'm going to hit the right bracket key, make it a little bit bigger. And basically, I want to get that green contamination away from her hair and down here, especially away from her body and her arms. And there we go. Really quick, I now have a background instead of that white. And that's it. And so real quickly, you can take those white backgrounds, even if you take something and silhouette it out and put it just on a plain white background, doing this really quickly, you can pick up a color from your image, and it creates a much more interesting background than just the plain vanilla white.
Cool. Well, hey, Jack, I appreciate you stopping by. Great tutorial. By the way, if you're going to Photoshop World, Jack Reznicki is going to be there. So make sure you stop by and say hi to him.
I'll be in the Canon booth shooting models, which should be a lot of fun. And I'll also be giving a talk on copyright, which is very important for photographers.
Definitely, definitely. Well, hey, Jack, thank you very much for stopping by the studio, and we'll see you in Photoshop World.
Can I leave now?
I think he's done. Thank you, Jack. Everybody
Thanks a lot.
clap for him. There we go.
Hey, thanks a lot. That was fun.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you, Matt, for that wonderful tutorial.
And nice change of clothing, too.
Yes, thank you. All right, so we're almost done here, but every week, as you know, we try to leave you with 3 things to do. So first off, go take a look at OutThereImages.com. My friend Mike Hagan is a part of that website, and they've got some great Nikon workshops, not only on shooting, but using your cameras, and also some great Photoshop workshops, too.
Cool. And one of our friends and writers that works with us, Jan Kabili, has started a new podcast. I'm not going to begin to try and give you the URL because it's so long, but if you check out our website, you will see a link to that as well.
Also, check out D65.com. One of our buddies, Seth Resnick, teaches workshops over there, and he's got a great workshop on accelerating your digital photographic workflow. So again, it's at D65.com.
Great. And we'd also just quickly like to thank our sponsors, CDW, Wacom, Peach Pit, and the Epson Online Print Academy for helping us out. And we'd like to thank you, our viewers, for checking us out all the time. And tell your friends if you like us, and even if you don't. Tell your friends anyway. For Matt and myself, Dave, that's it. Thank you for watching Adobe Photoshop TV.
Thanks for watching Adobe Photoshop TV. See you next week.